Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Hi everybody, my name's Alana and I'm an alcoholic. Before I get self-obsessed, I really want to thank Willis for asking me to come out and share my story with you. This is my favorite meeting. I try to make it here every Saturday. And thank you, Moira, for, that was a brilliant chapter 5. Wow. When I got sober, wow, I was just like that. I started drinking when I was 13, and the first time I ever picked up a drink, I went into a blackout. And the last time I ever took a drink, I was in a blackout, and I was very much a blackout drinker. I don't know what it's like to have a social drink, a glass of wine, and put it down and, like, you know, cross my legs and leave the table, you know? By the time I was 23 years old, I'd been to jail 7 or 8 times. I went to jail for my first DUI when I was 17 years old, and I thought it was really funny, and I was working at a bar as a cocktail waitress underage, and I was sleeping with the manager because that's the kind of tools that I had to live with when I was using. And I remember getting pulled over, and it was really funny to me. I don't know why, but it just was like, woo, I'm getting pulled over, whatever. And I got out of the car, and they had me do these series of tests and everything, and he asked me to say the ABCs backwards. And I just was like, I'm dyslexic, so you could think it was an easy job for me or something, but it was completely mind-boggling that he wanted me to do this. And so I stood up and I walked backwards and I went A, B, C, D. And he did not think that was very funny, but his partner was cracking up. And I was just like, and you know, Miss Downey, put your hands behind your back, you're going to jail, whatever. And I remember hitchhiking home the next day when I got out of jail, and I remember very clearly as it was yesterday. I was a Jack Daniels drinker out of the bottle, and I remember swigging a big old chug of Jack Daniels and doing a couple lines, and I was like calling my friends going, wow, I spent the night in jail, man. I thought it was really cool. I was 17 years old. This is what I thought I was. Alcoholism is a progressive disease. The next time I got pulled over for a DUI, it wasn't that funny. I was in a blackout. And I remember it was New Year's Eve, and I got pulled over, and I don't remember what happened, but I remember I came to as a billy club was being swatted at my head. And I remember going, whoa. I mean, you can't just say, excuse me, can you just hold on a minute because I just got here? Do you know what I mean? Like, I just woke up. Can I ask a couple of questions before you do that again, because it really hurts? And I remember going into this little jail in Banning, California, which I don't think anybody wants to be at. And I was in this little padded cell thing, and I read the report the next day, and I guess I started beating up the woman police officer. She reminded me of my mother or something, I don't know. And I was a violent drunk, and what happened was it wasn't funny saying the ABCs backwards. It started to become a very progressive illness from Alana. By the time I was 23 years old, I got busted for cocaine, I got a 3rd DUI, and my life was a wreck. I completely just shut down. School got in the way. I had to quit school because I had to deal drugs. You know, I dealt pounds of marijuana and cocaine across the country because that's what I thought I had to do. You know, this is how I had to live my life. Right before my 23rd birthday, I had a really shitty childhood, which I don't get into because it's just the way it is, you know. I went into a foster home when I was 1. I lived there until I was 8. I was beaten, molested, whatever. I had a really shitty childhood. I'm not a victim of that today, and it was a really terrible thing that happened to me, but I try not to place that upon you guys or myself anymore because I live in today. I live in now. And I never really knew my mom or my dad. They just dropped me off at a doorstep and basically picked me up like 8 years later. And when I started living with my mom and my stepdad, they got married, and I was about 17 at the time, and my stepdad was 20, and I was dating a 30-year-old. So it was kind of like a weird thing going on with me and my mom. And I didn't like him. I was like a hardcore rocker girl, and I was like wearing concert t-shirts and Vans, and he was wearing preppy t-shirts, alligators and topsiders, and he really bugged me. And we got in a fight, blah, blah, blah. It just didn't work out between my mom and me. We just had these differences. She was my best friend when when a guy wasn't around, and when a guy was around, I was basically outcast. And right before my 23rd birthday, I hadn't talked to her or my stepfather in about 5 years. And I just got done partying that night, and I was living in Palm Springs at the time, and I was a cocktail waitress and a drug dealer. And I was up all night, and I got a phone call from the Sun Valley, Idaho Sheriff Department. And they asked if it was me on the phone. I said, yeah, and they said that they were sorry to inform me, but my mom and my stepdad had been killed. And my whole world shifted. And I figured they traveled a lot. They got in a car accident, and what ended up happening was he murdered my mother, and then he shot himself. And I'm a very... by nature, I'm a very shut down, closed off person. I drink to shut down, I close off, I don't want to be around you, I don't want to look you in the eye, I don't want to get close to you. And when that happened, I made a conscious decision to never love a human being as long as I lived. And I took that well into my 5th year of sobriety. And 3 months later, right after my 23rd birthday, I got pulled over for my 3rd DUI, and that was by the grace of God. And I was spending 1.5 years in prison, and I was 210 pounds, and I had purple spiky hair, and I hated the world. I had the eyes of just Satan, and I had the heart that's just clamped closed. And through my series of drinking, I remember this guy, Gary, coming into my bar, and I'd always give him the same thing, a Greyhound and a little bit of cocaine underneath a napkin, and, one day he disappeared, and he didn't show up for like 6 months in my bar, and I remember he come in, and he come walking in my dark bar, and he was like glowing and smiling, and I was like, woo, dude, you look like you need a drink, what's up? And I shoved him his Greyhound. He goes, no, I don't drink I don't use anymore. And I said, you don't what? He goes, I'm clean and sober. And I go, you're what? He goes, I'm clean and sober. And I was like, what's that? I never even heard that term, clean and sober. What the hell is that? Sounds scary. He goes, I'm in a program called Alcoholics Anonymous, and I haven't had a drink in 6 months, and my life is amazing. And I just wanted to let you know that my life is amazing, and I'm okay. And he walked out. He didn't shove the program down my throat. He didn't tell me I was an alcoholic. He didn't tell me anything about me. He just told me about him. And the night, July 22nd, 1988, I was sitting in that cold cement jail cell, and I remembered his name. And I called information, and I got him on the phone, and I said I was scared, and I was lonely, and I was afraid, and I wanted to die. My mom was gone, my stepdad was gone, I had no family, I never talked to my dad. I'm going to jail for a really long time, and I don't want to go, and I'm afraid. And he said, you know what, Alana, the minute you get out, and you'll get out tonight, try to not pick up a drink and a drug just for 24 hours and go to an AA meeting. And I was like, for 24 hours? Are you serious? He goes, yeah, just do it. I go, what's that going to do for me? He goes, just trust me. And I said, okay. And so on July 23rd, 1988, I walked up the steps of the North Shore Alana Club in San Diego, and I've been sober since that day. And let me tell you, it's been a journey and a half. My first year of sobriety consisted of picking up trash on the side of the roads with purple hair and an orange vest and an orange hat, and I was 210 pounds, and I looked like a big tent. And I used to walk around, and I picked up this trash, and I remember, like 2 months before, I was in front of the judge, pleading my, please don't let me go to prison. I'm a really nice girl, like he cares. And he said I had to go to drinking and driving school, I had to pick up trash and do all this community service work, and I had to go to lockdown unit at Descanso Work Farm on the weekends. So basically 7 days a week, I was theirs. And I'm grateful because 7 days a week, my head is going strong. And I was picking up trash on the side of the road in Encinitas, and I remember getting really ungrateful. And I don't know what that term meant, but I remember being uncomfortable going, what am I doing? I'd see all my friends driving by and honking the horn and flashing the peace sign, woo, going surfing. I was like, fuck you. And And I remember being pissed off, and then all of a sudden something happened to me, and I closed my eyes and I could smell the eucalyptus trees. And I felt the sunlight on my face and that breeze of the ocean, and I never remembered. I remembered like ether in the closet. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't remember that kind of stuff. And I got grateful. And I called that a moment of clarity. And all of a sudden, I started picking up trash on the side of the roads, and I started singing zippity-doo-dah, zippity-doo-dah. And I was excited, and something changed for Alana. And that's when the whole progression of Alana's life started to change. I turned 5 years sober, and my first 5 years consisted of basically being alone. I spent a lot of time alone. I spent a lot of time in meetings, and I spent a lot of time doing my inventory. And I met a guy named Gino, and he had long hair, and he was a Mexican, and he had the sunlight of spirit in his eyes. And I walked up to him, and I asked him to be my sponsor, and he said, men work with men and women work with women. And I was really righteous then, because I read the big book. I mean, I didn't do it too well because I had dyslexia, but I had that dictionary and I read word for word. And I said, I don't see where it says men work with men and women work with women, this big book. I don't like women, I don't trust women. Women have abused me my whole life. I need you to sponsor me, or else I'm going to drink. And he's like, oh, we can talk about it. Let's just talk about it. And I was like, all right. And that man became my sponsor, and he stayed my sponsor until I turned 8 years sober. And that man saved my life. That man taught me the Lord's Prayer. He taught me how to be alive, how to look at people in the eyes, how to say that I cared. He taught me that he wasn't going to leave me. You know, he said, I have one question for you. Are you willing to go to any lengths to stay sober, no matter what? And I said, yeah, I am. And he worked every single step, 12 steps, 12 traditions, and 12 concepts with me. And my life changed right before my eyes. And when I turned 5 years sober, I did a second inventory, and everything, because when I was new, I didn't remember a whole lot. I was a blackout drinker. So when I turned 5 years sober, I remembered a whole lot. And my life changed, man. Let me tell you, I was hanging on like you wouldn't believe. And I met a girl at a coffee house named Vanessa, and she came walking up to me, hi, I'm Vanessa. And I was like, yeah, who fucking cares? Fuck you. And she walked away, and I went home, and I was like, why did I do that? Why am I so mean to people like that? Why am I mean to beautiful women? Like, what is that? And I went home, and I wrote about it, because that's what Gino taught me how to do. And I wrote about it, and what I realized, and where my selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, afraid was she was beautiful, and I didn't feel that. She had the things that I thought I needed and wanted to be okay with myself. But the truth was, I am okay with myself. And I went up to her at the old late night meeting, and I tapped her on the shoulder, and I said, I'm really sorry. Can we talk? And she started to cry, and I said, I'm so sorry that I did that to you. You're gorgeous, you're beautiful, you seem like you have your shit together, and I don't feel like that inside. And I judged you because I'm jealous. And she started to cry, and I said, why are you crying? And she said, is this what Alcoholics Anonymous is about? And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, I have 30 days sober today, and nobody's ever apologized for being nice to me. I became that woman's sponsor, and we became best friends, and she's still my best friend to this day. And what started to happen for me was my heart broke, and it broke open. And I started to trust a woman, and I started to trust a human being. And when I made that conscious decision of never trusting again, for me to trust 1 inch of my life to tell the truth to you, from the bottom of my heart, it started to change for me. And I'm going to wrap it up with what happened to me this year. This has been a really rough year for me. Because I was able to open my heart and have an amazing, beautiful life, I met a guy. And I got married last year, and 2 months later I got annulled. And the truth is I got to feel what it felt like to be me. I got to feel what it felt like to let another human being touch my heart. But I also got to learn that I don't take abuse no matter what. And it doesn't matter if you're clean and sober or if you're drinking and using. There's things that I believe in that are serious boundaries that I will never let people cross. And if I let you cross this much, then I'm compromising. And I have no ounce of inside of me to compromise anymore. I've done it my whole life. And you can't cheat on me, and you can't physically or emotionally abuse me, and that's what happened. And I left, and I got an annulment, and then 3 months later, I got a new car, and I got in a car accident. Somebody sideswiped me. And then a couple months later, I got the chicken pox. And then a couple months later, I got a phone call, and my sponsor had gotten loaded after 16 and a half years sober. And then a couple of months later, one of my best friends died. And it just kept going and going. And every single time I picked myself up, I dusted myself off, I went to a meeting and I called my friends and said, I need help today, because I don't think I can stay sober. And they said, you know what, Alana, I know you can. You stayed clean and sober for 10 years. I think you can do it one more day. It doesn't matter if you have 30 days, 1 day, 10 years, or 20 years. We're all alcoholics. We all have today, and that's it. And man, I just wanted to just die this year. And what happened to me was a spiritual awakening. When I had the chicken pox, I had 2 weeks by myself. And I couldn't let anybody around me, and I couldn't go outside, and I got really close with me, and I got really close with God. And what I realized is that I'm okay with me. I'm perfectly okay with Alana. And what I learned in that relationship was I had to completely discover who I was not to discover who I am. And this is a long journey of alcoholism. This is a long journey of life and love. My life is amazing today. I can look at myself in the mirror, and I can look at myself deep in the eye into my heart and know that I love myself. And I can look at you in the eye and say that I care, and I never cared before. I didn't care, and today I do. I owe my life to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I hope you have a good evening.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.